This story was told by Miss Pooh, who experienced a terrifying event deep in the forest of Laos and lives to tell the tale. Back in 1993, Miss Pooh's company was granted a logging concession in Laos. Strangely, no other company bid for this forest zone. And even more curious, no local workers were willing to guard the area. Everyone seemed terrified of that place, but no one would say why. Eventually, Miss Pooh was introduced to an old man named Uncle Pear, a skilled forest hunter and practitioner of ancient magic. He accepted the job under strict conditions. The workers had to build elevated platforms surrounded with copper wire, and once up there, at night, they were never to come down. A fire had to stay lit all night, and above all, no one was to hunt any animal in the forest. The new concession area was much deeper into the forest than any site before. The route passed through a cave inside a mountain, where stalactites formed a shape resembling an elephant's head. Deeper still, there were giant twin trees that towered above like guardians. These trees gave Miss Pooh an uneasy feeling, like they held secrets no one dared uncover. As the only woman on site, Uncle Pear arranged for his niece to sleep beside her at night. The girl was about 18 or 19, with pale skin and a strikingly quiet presence. She never spoke, never smiled. She wore the same white blouse and a patterned black and gray Laos skirt every day, with her hair tied into a neat bun. She would arrive at dusk on an old bicycle and leave every morning before dawn. For 3 nights, Miss Pooh lived in silence with this strange companion. On the 4th day, Miss Pooh had to travel out of the forest to prepare documents at the main sawmill in a place called Laos. Her co-worker, named Noom, came to pick her up on a motorcycle. On the way back, due to delays and detours, they didn't reach the forest path until dusk. Instead of taking the usual left turn toward camp, Noom took a right, claiming it was a shortcut. The path was narrow and surrounded by towering trees, the earth beneath turning a deep red. Miss Pooh grew more and more uneasy. Suddenly, they passed a clearing where a pile of blackened, rotting wood sat in a square, like the remnants of an old funeral pyre. Not far ahead, they reached a wider open space where a few abandoned stilt houses stood, silent and decaying. The houses had no walls, only roofs drooping to the ground, and tattered brown cloths for doors. Oddly, none had stairs. Under one of the homes sat a giant mortar and pestle, with the pestle unnaturally floating above it, held in place by wooden bars. Miss Pooh scolded Num for bringing her to such a place. He confessed he'd heard whispers from local workers that this spot was forbidden, but curiosity had overtaken him. He found a hidden ladder and climbed into one of the houses, leaving Miss Pooh alone below. As Miss Pooh waited beneath the trees, her heart raced. Then the floating pestle fell with a loud thud. It struck again and again. Miss Pooh's fear intensified. She tried to walk toward the motorcycle, only to realize No had taken the key. She shouted for him. No answer. Then came the sounds. Puck, 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 as if the pestle were being used to pound something. Miss Pooh stood frozen. Just then, Num leapt from the house, jumped on the bike, and rode off, abandoning her. Left alone, Miss Pooh crouched near a large tree, her body trembling. The pounding sounds didn't stop. Suddenly, the brown cloth on one of the house doors flew open with a loud flap. She ran blindly through the darkness, crying, exhausted and terrified. She kept telling herself, "Don't look to the sides. Don't listen." But then she did, and at the same burnt wood pyre from before, she saw a figure sitting on it. Her legs gave out. She collapsed and crawled behind a large tree, hoping it would shield her. As she sobbed, she heard another voice sobbing along with her. And then came the sound of an old bicycle approaching. She looked up and saw the girl, Uncle Pear's niece, arriving. She motioned for Miss Pooh to ride behind her. Miss Pooh offered to pedal, but the girl shook her head. They rode back to camp in silence. Back at camp, Miss Pooh was furious. She kicked Noom in rage. He lay curled up, shivering and silent. Uncle Pear came to investigate. After hearing the full story, he instructed Miss Pooh to bathe, change, and hand over her clothes. He used them to create a straw doll, then strictly warned everyone to stay on the elevated camp platform that night, no matter what sounds they heard. He left with another worker, carrying the straw doll and his ritual tools. Night fell. Everyone stayed silent on the platform. Someone whispered that even the most seasoned hunters avoided that house. Around 10 p.m., Miss Pooh spotted something by a towering tree. A wild-haired old woman in a black traditional outfit. She seemed to be watching them. Miss Pooh almost asked aloud who she was, but the girl beside her grabbed her hand and shook her head. Then the woman began to climb the tree. No ropes, no tools, just bare hands. She reached the top, then descended head first. She climbed again, then down, again and again, moving from tree to tree, all night long. The sounds of pounding never stopped. Thump, thump, thump. Miss Pooh turned to Noom. He confessed he had opened a wooden box in the house and found a necklace. The moment he picked it up, it snapped. Another worker whispered, "The spirit remembers you now." Noom panicked. He took out his prosthetic eye and handed it to Miss Pooh. "Hide this. Maybe the ghost won't recognize me without it." Late that night, Uncle Pear returned carrying the same wooden box. He called Newt down and performed a ritual. Afterwards, he ordered them to return to Thailand and never return to this forest again. He then burned all of Miss Pooh's clothes and told her he'd created a spirit effigy to leave behind. "The ghost has taken your likeness," he said. "It won't follow you." As thanks, Miss Pooh later offered to buy clothes for Uncle Pear's niece, who wore the same outfit every day. But Uncle Pear laughed. "She can't wear them," he said. He opened his bag and revealed a straw doll wearing the same white shirt and patterned black skirt. Real human hair was sewn into its scalp. Real fingernails were embedded in its arms and legs. That girl had died 30 years ago. She was his niece, who took her life after being shamed for getting pregnant by a Thai man. Uncle Pear, a powerful sorcerer, preserved her spirit in the doll. When Miss Pooh asked why he let her sleep beside a ghost, Uncle Pear replied with a grin, "Don't worry, this is just the beginning." He explained that once someone sees a ghost, more will follow. Miss Pooh, back in Thailand, made offerings for the spirits. But her paranormal encounters didn't end there. Later, she discovered from workers that the haunted house once belonged to a couple who fled society. The man brought his mother to live with them, but she was possessed. One night, she stabbed her son and daughter-in-law to death, then vanished into the woods. The blackened pyre was where hunters had cremated their bodies. But the next morning, the possessed mother returned and dragged their corpses from the ashes to eat them. This happened over 60 years ago. Locals believe she was a spirit keeper. Ritual tools were found in that house. No one dared return, except Uncle Pear. Noom had been warned not to take the detour, but curiosity led him and Miss Pooh into the clutches of something far worse than they imagined. This is the true story of the haunted forest in Laos, and it was only the beginning of Miss Pooh's lifelong encounters with the supernatural.